Yes. No, 28.
Hmm.
Okay, shall we start?
Okay, so hello. Thank you very much for your participation in our webinar today. My name is Satoshi Takayama, one of the co-founders of Venture Partners, and I'm also an advisor for the industrial machinery and component sector in Japan. And here's another co-founder and the managing director, Yasushi Hasegawa. After I introduce our company, he will do the main part of this presentation. The topic of today's webinar is distribution channel strategy in Japan. And in this presentation, we will explain that just having a local distributor wouldn't be enough to grow your business with Japanese companies. But before we start our webinar, I'd like to let you know a few things. One thing, at the bottom of Zoom screen, you can find Q&A panel, question and answer panel. So during our presentation, if you have questions about our presentation or Japanese business in general, please use this Q&A panel to send your question. Then we will answer to your question during the presentation or at the last part of the presentation. Also, if you have questions about specific industry or about your company's business in Japan, please contact us by email to reserve a separate online meeting with us. You can find Yasushi's email address in his first invitation email of this webinar. It is hasegawa@fenetre.co.jp. We are happy to answer to your questions and support you for your future business in Japan. Also, after the webinar, if you'd like to have a presentation material, please send us an email to Yasushi, then we can send them to you later. And then, Yasushi, please go to the next page.
Okay.
Hey, thank you. And this page shows today's agenda. Yasushi will explain overview of economy and industries in Japan, pros and cons of selling through a local distributor, strange distribution channel structure in Japan, case studies, options for distribution channel strategy in Japan, then question and answer. Okay, then, yes, thank you. With this page, I'd like to introduce our company briefly. Our company, Venture Partners, is one of the leading consulting firms of trade, investment, and international marketing based in Tokyo. Our clients are medium to large-size companies, mainly from the US and Europe. We also have many clients of overseas governmental organizations to support their trade missions and foreign direct investment. The main scope of our service is market entry support to enter Japan, not only by market researches or consulting, but by implementation. And this implementation means, for example, business development and lead generation. And this is our company's strength. What we mainly do is this implementation is, for example, sales and marketing activities locally in Japan on behalf of your clients. So we work as if we are your local Japanese branch office. We currently have 32 staff and we have worked on over 400 international projects since our company was established 15 years ago. Okay, then please go to the next page. Okay, and this page shows logos of our past and current clients. As I explained earlier, we have clients of mainly European, American manufacturing companies and also governmental organizations. Industries of our clients are mainly industrial machinery, components, automotive. We also have customers of consumer products. Then from next page, my colleague Yasushi will explain the main topic of this presentation. And once again, if you have questions, please use Q&A panel. Okay, so then Yasushi, please start your presentation.
Kayama-san, thank you for your introduction. And thank you everyone for joining our webinar tonight, or in this evening or morning, depends on your location. I'm Yasushi Hasegawa from Financial Partners. I'm very happy to share our knowledge, experiences, and insights about the distribution channel strategy in Japan with you. And we have many experiences, mainly in the industrial sector and partly in the consumer sectors as well. Before getting deep about the distribution channel, let me explain some overview of economy and industry in Japan because it's somewhat tricky. So there are key figures which highlight in Japan. So this is our population. It's roughly 1/4 or 1/3 of the US, or 50% more than Germany. And Japan still has the third biggest economy, but now Germany is supposed to overtake Japan, maybe this year or next year, but still it's a bigger economy. And the growth rate is here, almost nothing. This is because of the recovery from COVID into 2021. Usually it's almost zero. And now I'm going to explain two shocking figures. The first one is GDP per capita. Actually, Japan was ranked world number 2 20 years ago, but now it's ranked 30 or something. We are in the same group with Italy and South Korea. So some people still believe Japan is a rich country, but I have to say Japan was a rich country. Now we are not rich at all. And the next information, shocking information, is our median age, which is getting close to 50. So Japan is the second oldest country next to Luxembourg, where rich older people gather. So I'd like you to understand our country is getting poorer and older. So do you think Japan is an attractive market? So this is our GDP chart. In 2008, world economic crisis happened. In 2011, big earthquake happened with the nuclear plant incident. And it was recovering, but COVID hit. So I predict we will have a small up and down, but generally it could be flat. Or stable, in other words. And if you are interested in the GDP of Japan, I recommend you download the GDP data over all the countries from a World Bank website, and you can compare the GDP growth. In this century, actually, China recorded a very high growth rate, which is 1,300%. It's a huge growth. In Japan, it's 1%, not in average in total in this century. So our economy doesn't grow at all. So this is a very basic condition when you think about doing business in Japan. The reason of 2 decades stagnant is population, which is aging and decreasing rapidly. In 2008 or 9, our population has started declining, and now we are losing 500,000 population every year. So if it happens in Singapore, the country will disappear in 10 years. So you can imagine how it's a huge impact on our economy. So because we are losing the number of consumers and workforce at the same time. So I'm giving you very negative information about our economy. So I hope you are still interested in the Japanese market. And this is a good example. This is a chart which explains the number of cars sold in Japan. So roughly 30 years ago, 8 million cars were sold, but now it's getting close to 4 million. So it's a huge drop. Because of the change of our lifestyle and the aging of society as well. So my question is, do you think that Japanese automotive companies are good potential customers for you if you are selling some components to the automotive sector? And this is a reality. Actually, the same amount of cars produced in Japan are exported. So that's why domestic production hasn't changed. At the same time, overseas production has been growing steadily. So in reality, Japanese automotive players are steadily growing. So if you are selling to the automotive, still the Japanese companies are very attractive potential customers. And this is not the story only in the automotive. It's happening in a wide range of industries, especially in the manufacturing sectors. This is our overseas sales ratio. 20 years ago, that was 28%, but recently 38%. So in the past 2 decades, Japanese companies' overseas sales ratio has increased by 10%. And also overseas production rates has also increased by 10%. So now most of Japanese big manufacturers don't lean on the domestic market only. So they are trying to expand their business outside Japan. Those are the top 20 Japanese manufacturers in terms of overseas sales ratio. You can see famous company name like Honda, Nidec Motor Company, Nissan, Komatsu Construction, Matsuda, Fanuc Factory Automation, Tire, Bridgestone. So they are 80 to 90% sales outside Japan. So they don't rely on the domestic market anymore. And this is a very important or interesting research conducted by the Chamber of Commerce of Industry of Germany. It's Japan subsidiary. The Japan subsidiary distributed the questionnaires to their membership in Japan to ask which is bigger, A or B. B is very simple. Revenue from the Japanese companies in Japan. The B is the revenue from Japanese customers outside Japan. So surprisingly, almost half of them answered A is greater than B. They are actually doing business development activities in Japan, but they are earning sales more outside Japan. And more surprisingly, 20% answered A is 4 times bigger than B. So and this is the reason why still foreign companies are rushing into Japan. So their main purpose is not to get to sales inside Japan, but from Japanese companies globally. So there is a reason. While our economy is not going well, but still many foreign companies are seeking opportunities here. Now you might think you can directly sell to Japanese companies located in your region. For example, if you are American, you can sell to Toyota USA. But usually, if you are selling some important components or equipment, headquarters of a Japanese company has a right to make a decision. So decision makers are usually in Japan. Important components or equipment means like in the case of automotive, some safety sensor or some eco-friendly some components device or autonomous driving software. Such important things are usually chosen by the headquarters or around the center in Japan. If you are selling cheap commodity like parts or tools like spring, screw, or those things, you can directly sell to local people. But usually, if you are selling important things, this guy doesn't have a right to choose. So if you visit Toyota USA, for example, and try to sell some important components, they will say, please go to Nagoya, our headquarters. So this is the reason why you need business development activities in Japan. In the case you like to capture Japanese customers globally. And this is additional information. So this table shows the investing countries here and destinations here. So Japan is the #1 investors in some countries like China, Thailand, Philippines, Malaysia. It means if you do business development in such countries like in China, Thailand, you often encounter Japanese companies. But again, decision makers are in Japan. So especially in Thailand, if you are selling to the automotive industries, actually 60 to 70% of automotive companies in Thailand are Japanese. So it doesn't make sense you do business development in Thailand without business development in Japan. So this is our situation of Japan. Economy is not growing, not attractive, but some Japanese manufacturers are growing. So if you are selling to industrial players or big manufacturers, definitely Japan is our best destination, one of the most important destinations for you. So like you are selling to automotive, electronics, automation, robotics, those things. You are selling components, device, equipment, software, some industrial things. So this is our recommendation. But if you are selling consumer goods, we don't recommend Japan as your destination because of the aging and decreasing population. Especially in the case your products are aimed at the young rich. Again, Japan is getting poorer and older, so your target consumer here is quite limited. Maybe China or other Asian big cities would be much better for you. And also the consumer preference here is very different from any other countries. So this is a good example. L'Oreal, the biggest cosmetics company in Europe, had only 1% market share in the skin care sector, and 2 years ago they have withdrawn. So it's a really tough market if you are selling consumer goods. That is the reality of the Japanese market. And also, if you are selling to healthcare sector or alternative energy sector, I believe you can have opportunities here because of aging of society. Elder people need a lot of healthcare. So if you are selling some products related with healthcare, like a medical device or medtech, Japan is a good destination, and also some products related with alternative energy. Japan is a very attractive destination. because still most of nuclear power plants have stopped after the big earthquake or nuclear plant incident. So our government and electricity power companies are seeking different sources of power plant, and yeah, you will have opportunities here. So I have explained the market overview of Japan and the industries. So now I'd like to get into the today's main topic, distribution channel strategy, which is suitable for the Japanese market. So I'd like to start with some typical wrong expectation. We often receive an inquiry mainly from American and European companies. And in many cases, business people don't understand the right path to develop a distribution channel here. And some expect direct export to a Japanese company, but usually they don't purchase or they don't import directly. They usually prefer purchasing through an importer. And some are seeking an agent working on commission base. But in Japan, the working culture is very conservative, and it's very tough to find the kind of individual. So if you are stuck with this idea, you may waste a few years or more because it's not easy to find such a person. And you may be able to encounter in a new industry with our young entrepreneur distributor, like in IT, in the case you are selling AI tools, but in the industrial sectors, usually distributors are very old. They established their companies like 40, 50, 60 years ago, and usually the owner are very old, 70s, sometimes 80s. In some cases, second or third generation are the current owner. And I will skip this. And you usually expect to work with a distributor which can meet your criteria, but in a mature market, it's somewhat tough. And you expect they prioritize your products. But in reality, most of Japanese distributors are selling hundreds of products, and adding a new one is not attractive enough in some cases. So this is a very dangerous signal. If you believe your successful strategy working properly in other markets should work in Japan, so you'll be trapped. Japan is very different from any other countries. The reason are business culture or many things, but simply the stage of economic development of Japan is very different from other Asian countries. So Japan experienced a growing stage in 1970s, 80s, and 90s. So at the timing, many American and European companies entered Japan. Sometimes they formed a joint venture with a big Japanese company, or they established their own Japan big subsidiary and also established their own distribution channel here. But now, Japan is here, especially in the industrial sectors. The market is very mature. In this case, competition is very stable, or players and distribution channels are fixed, almost fixed. And in other words, oligopoly has happened. The term oligopoly means the market is dominated by limited number of very strong players. So in such case, it's really tough to find an entrepreneurial distributor because the market is almost fixed. It's really tough to, sell a new product in such a situation. So sometimes foreign business people expect the same strategy working here also can work here, but I have to say it's totally different. So this is the image of the distribution channel structure at the growing stage and in the mature stage. At the growing stage, usually the number of players are increasing every year, and the distribution channel is changing every year. Sometimes your big competitor suddenly enter your market, and your customers are increasing. Sometimes big American company open a big factory, and European company extend their factory sites. So the market is changing, and also young entrepreneurial people start distribution business. Very talented young guy may start working as an agent here, and it's changing. So if you think your distributor is underperforming, probably you change. And your competitor may react to that change. So it's very dynamic. Of course, it's not easy to win the competition, but still you have a lot of options. So it's dynamic and a very interesting situation. But after 20, 30 years, the situation will be like this. Players, the size of players have been bigger and bigger because they've survived, and smaller companies disappeared or being acquired. So of course in Japan there are some small distributors, but they are sort of left over because if they have a strong capability over sales and marketing, they could be middle-sized companies. They had 20, 30 years for growing. So in this kind of mature market, again, oligopoly has happened. Very strong big suppliers dominate the market, and also customers have been very big. And through a 20, 30, 40 years history, distribution channel has been fixed. So in this kind of situation, it's really tough for you to join as a new market entrant. For example, if you join here as a new supplier, if your products are very innovative, random distributors may agree to do test marketing. And this guy will ask their second dealer, would you try to explore opportunities? Yes, let's try. And then they visit their existing customers only. Probably you will be able to sell a small amount of your products to their existing customers, but that's it. Because it's really tough to sell to other customers, new customers. In worst case, price competition happens. So that's why usually in the mature market, distributors focus on their own existing customer base. So after a few years, probably your sales in Japan hit the ceiling. So you need to do something new in such case. So this is our framework to compare different options of market entry. The vertical axis shows the degree of risk, and the horizontal shows the degree of control. So I know that at the beginning of market entry, you don't want to take a big risk. So usually, new market entrant prefer to work with a local distributor, which is a trade. So it doesn't it doesn't require a large investment upfront. However, the problem is the control, because your distributor have their own strategy, and mainly they work for their own interests. So you can't control your distributor. Of course, you can talk with them, but they have no reason to compromise in many cases. So in such case, you may consider to switch your distributor, or you add new distributors. But it's just duplicating the same problem. So it wouldn't be a perfect solution in many cases. So we usually recommend you have your own staff working on the ground in Japan. However, direct investment requires a big investment upfront. In the case you register your own subsidiary here and hire local talents, probably you need to pay at least $250,000 per year. And if you send the expat to Japan, probably that will be over $500,000 a year. So it's tough. That's why we usually recommend to hire business development firm like us. Of course, you need to pay some retainer fee, but it's a small risk. At the same time, you get the full control. So, and we work with your distributor to develop the new markets, new customers. And also sometimes we explore the opportunity of M&A, for example. And after you've been successful, we can help you to establish your own subsidiary and hire local talents. That is our recommendation. But so I have to say, just having a local distributor would be a good first step. But usually it's not enough. Your sales will hit the ceiling sooner or later. And the benefit is a low investment, low risk, and you can take advantage of their existing customer base. Those are benefits. However, from the long-term viewpoint, there are a lot of disadvantages. So usually you get to make a customer relationship because usually a local distributor hides the very important information over their end users or customers. They don't disclose contact information of key people sometimes. If you ask them to visit the end users, they pick up some good customers, which don't represent the Japanese market. So that is a problem. And the distributors can't get deep for a technical discussion. And usually Japanese business people do a lot of sugar coating or mitigation when they give you some negative information. So you don't get the real market information in many cases. And also distributors have their own strategy, focusing on a particular industry or a particular application. So it's usually limited. And of course, you cannot control their sales activities and user pricing. They may mark up by 50% or 20%. You never know. And especially at the beginning, the service level is low. And I think this is our biggest issue if you plan to develop Japanese customers globally, because your local distributor in Japan is not interested in this one. I sometimes hear foreign companies set a commission for the case a local distributor introduce Japanese customers outside Japan, like they pay 1% or 2%, but usually it's not attractive enough. And the biggest problem is you never know why your business doesn't grow in Japan. In the case that distributor hide the important information. So the conclusion of this section is having a local distributor would be the good first step, but sooner or later you need to combine another option, having your own staff here. In the next section, I'd like to explain some typical cases of complicated distribution channel in Japan. The first one, multi-layers. I think it's a famous issue. In some industries like hand tools, you can see several layers between you and end users. It's really tough to penetrate, and also you will lose price advantage. It's really tough. And the worst case is you only have communication with the importer, and you never know what's going on here. So in such case, you have no idea how to increase sales. You just, say to this importer, please increase sales. That's it. So this structure is really, annoying for you. And another difficult case is a closed model. This model can be seen in the cars or cosmetics. So this is our, very simple distribution channel. Like, for example, Toyota have own Toyota exclusive dealer network. They sell only Toyota cars to consumers. Nissan has their own. Matsuda has their own. So in such case, there's no independent strong importers in this sector. It's same in cosmetics. This industry has been changing, like on e-commerce or something, but still this structure exists. So if you are selling cosmetics and your brand is not super famous outside Japan, it's really tough to find good importer distributors here. And the direct model. In some sectors, a direct model is the majority. Like for supplement, they provide a mail ordering catalog service, e-commerce, and TV ads plus call center. So in such case, there are no independent strong importers. If you are selling a supplement, only one possible way is you sell your products in bulk as an ingredient to a big manufacturer or some licensing contract. But it's impossible. Your brand is not famous. So there are some such industries here where you cannot find independent strong importers. In that case, I just recommend you try to find opportunities in other countries. And this is another tracking model. So sometimes we see this kind of distributor working as a purchasing agent for a particular big manufacturer. So this guy says, hey, we are seeking this kind of equipment. And this guy tried to find in Europe or US. So in this case, they don't try to sell your product to other customers because their role is like a purchasing agent over particular big manufacturers. In some cases, they are like 70% of sales from a particular manufacturer. So that's why they hesitate having a business with competitors of their customers. And in some industries, you can see this kind of structure, like in automotive, processed food, construction machinery. So the function of distributor is on logistics, just-in-time delivery. For example, they are sourcing hundreds of thousands of products and deliver to customers. So in such case, this guy is not active for promoting a particular product because they are selling thousands. So they have no energy to focus on promoting one particular brand. So in such case, you have to do sales activities directly to your customers. And the last one is SPA. Uniqlo is a good example. Sometimes we receive an inquiry that they like to have a business with Uniqlo, but their business model is somewhat tricky. They have their own retail store and also have their own design team. In the case of Uniqlo, they have designers in Spain, and they outsource manufacturing to a factory in some Asian countries, like in India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, China. So they are controlling all the supply chain or value chain. So you can sell to Uniqlo. Only one possible way is you have your own factory in Bangladesh and you work as a OEM under the Uniqlo's management. So I explained some tricky distribution channel structure in some industries. So I would like to advise you have to be very careful before you proceed to look for your distributors in Japan. In some industries, finding a local distribution or distributor wouldn't be a solution for you. You need to explore other options. And let me explain some case studies. So 2 days ago, we organized another webinar and invited one of our clients, Jeff San from Cyclone International. This is his case. They are selling to construction machinery. And this structure is also same for the automotive and commercial vehicle industry. So you sell your components to OEM, like Komatsu, Toyota, Hitachi, Nissan, and in other markets, you expect your distributor promote your products to end users. Toyota, Honda, Nissan. But in Japan, this structure is somewhat tricky. It's called as Keiretsu, exclusive distribution channel structure. For example, Toyota distributor, group distributor, only sells to Toyota, very exclusive. So in some cases, you need to have one distributor for one big manufacturer. So if you like to have to develop 3 Japanese customers, you need to have 3 distributors. It's very exclusive. And their main function is logistics. Usually, this guy has a big warehouse near the factory of OEM, and they are delivering hundreds or thousands of components to their factory almost every day for just-in-time delivery. Again, and they are selling hundreds or thousands of products, so they don't promote a particular product because it doesn't make a big difference for a distributor. In the case they are selling yours or your competitor's one, because the price is almost same and profit is almost same, they will say whichever, as far as this OEM is happy. So in this industry, actually, you have to do sales activities and technical discussion directly with OEM, like with Toyota, Komatsu, Nissan. So, but you can't do it remotely. Sometimes some companies expect they do business development from Taiwan or China, but it's impossible. They don't take your offer seriously if you don't have a presence here. So in this case, our role is here, a virtual Japan office of our client. We have a name card of your company and visit OEM to identify key person and have technical discussion again, again, again. And if this guy loves your products, we arrange distribution with talking with the distributor. So this is our role. So of course, you can set up your own subsidiary and hire local talents. but it's much more expensive than hiring a business development agent like us. If you are a very big company and you don't hesitate to investing a few million upfront, of course you can open your own subsidiary. But the problem here is it takes usually a few years to get the first sales in the automotive, commercial vehicle, or construction machinery industry, because their product development cycle is usually 3 to 4 years. So usually they don't replace existing parts of existing products. So what you can do is to identify a new project and try to get into. So that's why at least you need a few years to get the first sales. So our recommendation is you hire a business development firm like us and appoint as a sales representative in Japan and work together for developing OEMs and make an arrangement of distribution. This is a case one in our automotive or commercial vehicle industry. The case two is a machine tool. Again, this is a typical multi-layer issues. So our client appointed us as a sales rep in Japan, and we developed this guy, so distributor. And there are several layers between you and your end user factories. In this case, it's really difficult to penetrate the market. So our role at the beginning is to train this guy, so distributor, and visit regional distributors together and visit some of key local dealers because it's too many. So our staff accompanied the salesperson of this guy to important local dealers. And sometimes we get an inquiry. And then in such case, our staff visit the end user together with the staff of some distributors. But it's still, not efficient due to the many layers here. So what we did second is online marketing. We advertise on Google and some portal site. And the factories make an inquiry. And we deliver products through this distribution channel. So in the multi-layers industries, we usually recommend combine the sales activities and through marketing. Nowadays, mainly online. So this is our role, supporting technical things and visiting customers together with distributors, and also arrange the online marketing. The company has been so successful. The third case is very typical. They are selling some analytical tool. So they developed their current distributors 20 to 30 years ago. And this guy has a deep technical knowledge in that field and has established a good customer base in the sector one. However, the client usually have a much bigger sales in sector 2 and sector 3 outside Japan, like in North America or Europe. And client expect there are much more bigger market in sector 2 and sector 3. But distributor A is a small technology-oriented company. So their resource is limited. And they are allocating their resource for developing sector 1. They don't have capacity. And our client had a lot of discussion with distributor A that, of course, distributor A has their own strategy and they work for their own interests. That's why they focus on sector 1. And our client hired us for finding distributor B. So in that case, our first role is to find the distributor B covering their target sectors 2 and 3. And the second role is technical support to distributor B because distributor A learned their products for 20 years. So usually they don't need any help to sell their products to their customers. But at the beginning of a distribution relationship, usually distributors don't have enough skill. Of course, our client provides technical training, but distributor B is selling a wide range of products, and they cannot allocate technical resource on their client products. So that's why our staff supported the technical things for distributor B, and sometimes visit together to customers in sector 2 and sector 3. That was our second role. And the third role is a conflict management between distributor A and B. Of course, distributor A feels uncomfortable with this situation. Sometimes some companies are overlapped in sector 1 and sector 2, or subsidiary a customer in sector 2 is a subsidiary or customer in sector 1. Sometimes it's very difficult to classify, and that's why our staff works for managing that kind of conflict. So that was our third role. And now distributor B is getting more active for promoting our client products, and hopefully they will get more sales from sector 2 and 3 down sector 1 in the future. So this is our typical case that the sales through your current distributor hit the ceiling because of focusing on a particular sector. So in this case, such case, we usually recommend developing another distributor for other applications or industries. So this is our last section, which explains the options for distribution channel strategy in Japan. So when you try to find a good distributor in the mature market, you need to accept some kind of disadvantages. Usually, you say, we like to work with a distributor which has technical capability and good customer base, which are our targets. And if we choose such distributors, good fit for both criteria, it means that distributor sells your competitor's product or their original ones. Otherwise, they don't have technical capability for particular customer segments. So in such case, your product will be complementary. For example, that distributor is selling brand A and brand B, and your products will be a brand C for them. So they are choosing the easiest product to sell or a product which can generate the highest profit among brand A, B, C. So in such situation, it's difficult to control your growth. So if you don't like this case, your products are sold with your competitors by the same distributor. You need to choose here or here. This one, that distributor has a right customer. However, they don't have a technical capability. It means you need to provide technical support to them. Another case is here. they have a technical capability, good fit, but they don't have a customer base, which are your targets. In such case, your distributor can work properly on taking care of technical things, but it takes a lot of time because they don't have right customers. So usually they require your support on sales and marketing. So in those cases, probably you need someone working on the ground in Japan. So, and in the case you haven't had the local distributor in Japan, usually we recommend this kind of process for finding distributors. And the first step, research to identify target distributors. So our recommendation is don't be picky. Again, if you have very strict criteria, probably the number of company on the long list will be very limited. So we recommend include different types of companies in the long list. And for contacting target companies, we recommend you hire a Japanese speaker because they ignore English email, and many of our office workers don't understand English, so you should not call, make a phone call in English. And we usually recommend you prepare official meeting request letter in your company format with your signature and also the presentation, including case studies and figures in Japanese language. Sometimes you guys prepare very beautiful presentation with some fancy words, but Japanese business people prefer figures, references, case studies. That is a Japanese business culture. And usually during this process, they ask a lot of questions if they are interested in your products. So you have to respond in a timely manner. Sometimes they request a product sample. You have to make a quick action for that. Usually in other markets, they ask many questions in the meeting, but in Japan, before accepting a meeting offer, they ask many questions because they sometimes need to get the approval from boss for meeting you. It may sound strange, but the business culture here is very conservative, especially in the big organization. And we usually recommend you have online meetings before you come here. And in the meetings, you should not expect open discussion in the first round meetings because the culture is very conservative. Usually, you give a presentation, they give you a presentation, and some small discussion. Usually, they say, "Let us discuss internally and revert to you." So you should plan the second round meetings for having more discussion. And quick action is needed for following up because they are evaluating your response way, speed, and also quality. And usually we recommend Japanese business person, it accompanies you to meetings. Of course, in some cases, you need a translation, but at the same time, after a meeting, you need cultural interpretation. Sometimes, Japanese business people speak with a lot of mitigation or sugarcoating. It's very difficult for you to understand what they really think. So we provide this kind of service with $7,000 to $8,000, and it takes usually 3 months. So if you need help on Japan side, we are happy to help you to find a distributor. Again, after finding a distributor, you start exporting, but again, your sales hit the ceiling sooner or later. So our recommendations here, you hire business development firm like us on retainer base, and you can control our activities. Or, we can collaborate. We can discuss how to develop customers, how to control distributors. So that is our recommendation. And our way is here more dynamic than traditional approach. We start test marketing activities, visit potential distributors, potential customers, and develop sales strategy and business plan in the first 6 months period. So we usually charge roughly $5,000 per month. I think it's much cheaper than hiring a junior level person in North America or Europe. So this is the reason why many of our clients have chosen us. The reason of our reasonable cost is our talents. You can see our staff here, here, here. Can you guess how old they are? We usually hire a person who is over 60 years old and retired from your target industries. So they are skilled, seasoned, and sometimes have very great network in a particular industry. At the same time, we don't need to pay big salary because they've already had the big retirement allowance from their past employer. At the same time, they are receiving pension from the government and salary. So this is a secret of our very reasonable pricing. So this is the end of my presentation. So we are happy to start working on business matching with your potential distributors, but our main strength is here. We do business development on behalf of you. At the same time, we manage your distributors, collaborate with your distributors for developing your customers here. So thank you very much joining our webinar tonight. And so Takayama-san, do you have some?
Hey, yeah, thank you, Yasushi, for your presentation. We actually received a few questions, but I've already answered to them.
Okay.
Yeah, and if the participants have more questions, we are happy to answer. Or in the meantime, maybe let me ask you one typical question which often asked by our customers or clients. For example, does hiring an American or European person who speaks Japanese language work for business development in Japan? What do you think?
Usually, it doesn't work well. Of course, if he has lived in Japan for 30 years and speak like a native speaker and his personality is like a Japanese, probably that would work well. But usually, hiring local staff would be much easier to foster a good relationship with your Japanese customers.
Hey, thank you. Maybe one more question, typical question. How much does it cost to set up and operate a Japanese subsidiary?
Okay. If you hire one bilingual sales manager with technical background and one assistant for administration, probably at least you need to pay $250,000 a year. And if you send an expert and hire a technical guy, maybe it will be more than $500,000 per year. So if you are from a big company, it's small investment, but for SMEs, it's not a good idea at the beginning of your market entry.
Okay, thank you. And we just got one question in Japanese language. So when in speaking with Japanese customer, is the capability of Japanese language, 日本語力, the capability of the Japanese language is important?
I don't think so. We have worked for many companies, hundreds of companies so far. Probably only one manager speaks Japanese. But in other cases, they never speak. But don't worry, as far as you have someone working in Japan speaking Japanese, that's fine. But we recommend you come to Japan like twice or 3 times a year. That is helpful for us to foster a good relationship with your Japanese customers.
Okay, thank you. And we got one more question. Maybe it's a little bit long, so maybe Yasushi, you can answer. to the question posted on the Q&A, maybe later by email.
Oh, okay. I found the question. It's very specific. So,
Mm.
Roberto-san, I will send you an email to answer your questions.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Probably we should end our webinar today.
Yeah,
Also,
so yeah, it's
okay.
already time. Yeah, to close the webinar.
Thank you very much for joining us today, and hopefully you got some insights about your distribution channel strategy for Japan, and hopefully you can implement your idea next year. So thank you, and have a great holiday season.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye.